Look at him, eating whatever he wants, never gaining a pound. While I'm stuck with the boring special and can't lose an ounce.
How's your lunch, man?
Amazing. Yours?
So good.
Oh, I'm so happy for you.
Cool, buddy.
Weight loss isn't fair, but Mochi Health is. The affordable GLP-1 source that can fix your frustration with food.
So, same time next week?
No!
Definitely.
And your friends. Learn more at joinmochi.com. Mochi members have access to licensed physicians and nutritionists. Results may vary.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome, everybody, to the Hockey Think Tank podcast, brought to you by the hockeythinktank.com, a website for all players, parents, and coaches to go to get a little bit of education and a little bit of inspiration regarding the greatest game on the planet. What an episode we have for you guys here today. We are bringing on a repeat offender, a repeat guest, a guy who we had on like 5 years ago who caused quite the stir with his views on youth hockey. And it is our Uncle Tim Scott. Timmy grew up actually as a very, very elite soccer player, but has been a hockey coach for about 3 decades now, especially at the younger levels. And we put the note out there. We put the bat signal out on social media. Hey guys, who wants to come debate us on 8U hockey? Full ice, cross ice, half ice. Let's get her going. And never one to back down from a confrontation or an argument. Just ask anybody in our family at the table through text, whatever it may be. Uncle Timmy willingly raised his hand. And boy, did we have an hour talk with him. My goodness. And so we are so excited to bring that to you guys here today. But before we do, let's bring on the talent of the podcast, the one Jeffrey Lavecchio. Vex, what's up today, dude?
What's up, doggy? Man, I can't wait for everybody to hear this one. I'm excited to hear the feedback on this one. I'm not going to lie. Really excited to hear the feedback on this one, but I'm doing good, bro. Just released the GMT actual advising company that I started here with Hunter Brinker, one of my retired pro guys, and Michael Wall, one of my former clients who's running the back end. So his brother's in the NHL, Joseph Wall. So just really cool to be working with 2 of my former clients on this project. And we already sold out. We sold out in 1 day. So really excited to help all these players. Sent out the initial video message to everybody who we decided to accept, and excited to get that cooking.
Unreal, dude. That's kind of crazy. Yeah. Really excited. I mean, dude, like we talk about all the time, the importance of video and what, Hunter Brinker studied under John Lounsbury, 11 hockey founder. And, when Lounsey broke off from the Oates group, every single player that was with Lounsey within the Oates group went with Lounsey. He's an unbelievable guy. He knows the game inside and out. Obviously I know a bunch of his clients really well, and they all swear by him. So about 6 months ago, I hooked Hunter Brinker up with Lounsey, and Lounsey, being the amazingly unbelievable dude that he is, helped Hunts and helped him see what he's seeing and talk about the game and show him the stuff that he's breaking down with his NHL guys and things like that. So Hunts got to learn from him for a while, and away we go here. So just really excited for what we're doing and helping players on a deeper level. There we go. GMT taking over the world. My goodness.
Trying, bro.
I've been traveling a lot lately, man. It's been really crazy. Just being.
You're everywhere. You're omnipresent.
I'm what?
You're everywhere at once, like Santa Claus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Omnipresent. Okay.
Omnipresent.
You know what? It's been great. Getting the opportunity, as I'm sure we've talked about at different times on this podcast, like with what we've built with the Hockey Think Tank, it's been so cool that so many people reach out to us on like a daily basis. The one thing that is hard sometimes is the fact that sometimes I feel like we're almost like the vent outlet for people, because we're one of the only people kind of speaking
I don't want to say honestly, but speaking to the things that are plaguing our game. And so we get a lot of people who like message us through emails or through DMs just about crazy stories that have happened to them and things that make your stomach turn. And it's really cool. One of the reasons why I love getting out on the road and working on the ground level with youth organizations is you're reminded how many great people there are in this game and how many people are doing such a good job and trying so hard to provide a great experience for the kids in their town and their communities and their organizations and stuff. And so just this past week, I was in Rocky River, Ohio, right outside of Cleveland and Columbus. And just these are two clubs that we work with, and just incredible, like absolutely incredible people. And so bravo, honestly, to all of you out there who are fighting hard to create an unbelievable experience for the youth hockey kids that are hopefully falling in love with the game. And we appreciate you guys. So it's hard being on the road and being away from family. Like that's why I left college hockey. But it's really reassuring to know that there are so many awesome people in this game, and we need to do a better job of working together as a hockey community, as a whole hockey community, to make the game better, because there's no reason why there should be so many great people in our game and for it to be so broken.
Yeah, you're so right, man. You're doing such cool things, and it's so cool to see how many people are collaborating with you and bringing you in and getting your insight and stuff, because it really is so important. I was training TPH St. Louis on Wednesday, and they their school is at where the NHL Blues practice, right? So I'm in the gym and I can see the Blues practicing. And at the end of the Blues practice, I had a tap on the shoulder. I turn around and it was Paulie Stasny, who avid listener to the show since we've started. So we were talking about recent episodes, and we had a good 30-minute talk about mites and cross ice. And, you know, it's not, reassurance to us, but you know, I'm like, what do you think? And he's like, yeah, dude, like my kid plays on one of those full ice teams. He doesn't play the games and he goes to one practice a week. That's it. Every other time I want him only playing cross ice. So super interesting to, you know, hear from him and hear his thoughts as a guy who played, you know, as long as he did and had the career that he did. And obviously there's guys who played in the NHL for a long time who are pro full ice. So just interesting to get as many voices as we can, but it was nice to hear from Stas. And, you know, he's the same with us. He's like, you know, they're doing this or that at 6 and 7 and 8, and they're crazy. They're little kids. Just let them play, you know? Yeah. And he was saying how his son was talking to him, like, nobody passes. Like, I'm the only one who passes. And obviously a Stasny's passing out there. So just interesting to talk to Paulie about it.
Yeah. And so in this episode, guys, like it's going to be equally entertaining, probably equally frustrating, depending on what side of the ledger you're on, and equally, hopefully, educational in some kind of way.
But only if you believe the stats.
Yeah. Well, oh, Jesus. So just to get you guys ready for the episode. So one thing is Vex and I, particularly me, because I kind of have them, but we reference a couple different studies that have been done about the effects of different amounts of players on the ice and different sizes of the ice at those ages. And so two of the studies that have been done, one is done by USA Hockey in conjunction with Charles University, where they tested a bunch of different amounts of players on the ice, 2v2, 3v3, 4v4, 5v5, and in different areas of the ice, right? Like cross ice, half ice, full ice. And that study shows, again, like the most amount of pass attempts, the most amount of pass completions, battles, things like that. And then there's also another study that was done by both the Sweden and Finland federations of hockey, and very, very similar study that was done. A ton of different amounts of players on the ice, a ton of different sizes of ice. And again, same thing. It goes to say that, like, they actually say in their words, 5-on-5 full ice hockey is like the most inefficient way to develop players. And so that's just a primer for you guys getting in there. And so the one thing that, just to be fair, the one thing that was talked about in that study is the most amount of like long skating was done obviously in 5-on-5 full ice. And so, it was a conversation with Timmy. Hey, like there were times where it kind of went off the rails. There were times where we kind of met in the middle and agreed. We started an agreement, then we kind of went off the rails, and then we kind of came back a little bit more towards the end. And so we love Uncle Tim. He does such a good job. Like, even though we disagree with him on a lot of things that we're going to talk about here, he loves his kids, man. And he develops kids, and he's really good at what he does. And he's been doing this for a long time. And we want to make sure that even though we kind of go back and forth and spar here, we do have so much respect for him and the job that he does for the kids that he coaches. And like, the families love him. The kids love him. The organization that he works for love him. The Jets here in Chicago, they're a phenomenal youth hockey organization. And so this is going to be a fun episode for you guys to listen to. And I hope you guys enjoy it and get something out of it.
It'll be a little glimpse into Thanksgiving at our household, in our family,
or the Scott family text chain too.
But I want to echo something Toph said right there, because, you know, if somebody just listens to our show once and we're talking about like the fun and, you know, at younger ages, play everybody for the most part evenly, right, and things like that, like they might think that we're like soft, and we're not at all. We believe in discipline and teaching life lessons and earning it and stuff like that. And as a young kid, I went to a bunch of Uncle Tim's practices throughout the years when I would come in town to Chicago and whatnot. And something that Timmy is very, very good at is teaching kids discipline, hard work, earning it, and all of his teams have fun. All of his teams have fun, and Toph and I are massive proponents for all of those things, especially at the younger ages. And Timmy is very, very good at doing that. So despite us, you know, seeing development differently, he's very, very good at doing that. And there's a million ways to skin a cat. So very interested. You guys who listen to the podcast, shoot me a DM. Let me know your thoughts after this podcast. Want to wrap with you, because I had a bunch of people reach out, say that they would like to talk on this subject. So a lot of people are invested in this. So would love to hear your thoughts on how this went down and you know, which side of the debate you ended up on after this talk.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, the one thing we do agree on, which we kind of started with, is that passing is very important. All three of us are very, very big believers that passing is the utmost skill that we need to be doing more of in the game. Hockey is a team game. It is not an individual game. And so, you know, with that, it's funny, man. Like, you know, you look at some of these studies that was done. We referenced the Sweden, Finland. Like, Sweden does not play full ice hockey until U13, until kids are 12 years old. And you look at their progression of the amount of elite players that they, you know, put into the NHL. It's you know, for me, that's a big part of the reason why, you know, the Swedes are known for what? They're known for their hockey sense and how smart they are, you know, and so, not that this is the end all be all. There's certainly a lot of other things that go into it outside of like them not playing full ice hockey until they're 12, 13 years old. But I think, you know, there's good data in here. Timmy doesn't necessarily trust the data, so that'll be one thing that'll be probably funny for you guys to hear us talk about. But yeah, we're obviously big believers in, you know, shrinking the ice at the younger of ages. When you look at pretty much every other sport does it. You know, I got a 6-year-old daughter who plays 4-on-4 soccer on probably a quarter of the field, baseball fields, basketball nets, basketballs, you know, you look football fields, you know, they're shorter. We're the only ones that play on a full ice, you know, which is a little wacky, we think, but we're going to get into it, guys. Like we'll get into it on the podcast here. You guys will love it. You'll hear the Scott family banter here as well. But we love our Uncle Tim, just a huge heart. And does a great job with his kids. So with that, we do have a couple people that we need to thank before we do get over to the podcast. First and foremost, want to thank our title sponsor, IceHockeySystems.com. Guess what they just came out with, guys? They just came out this past week with family accounts. So this is not just for coaches anymore, but they have a whole entire family section now on icehockeysystems.com, and it is absolutely incredible. So I got in there. So we've partnered with them on that. Myself, Daryl Belfry, one of the smartest hockey people. He is still the most downloaded episode that we've done on the Hockey Think Tank. Daryl Belfry, skills coach to some of the best players in the game. Meg Popovic, who's an incredible sports psychologist. Dwayne Blay, who is the head of skill development for the Detroit Red Wings. Like, we all are a part of this, and it's absolutely incredible. And so we would encourage you guys all to go to icehockeysystems.com. Not only do they have amazing resources for coaches, but now they have amazing resources for players, and they have amazing resources for parents as well. Go to icehockeysystems.com today and check it out. Jeffrey?
I want to give a massive thank you to Train Heroic. You guys know Train Heroic is the amazing app that allows me to upload unbelievably dialed in coaching and demonstrating videos of every single thing I have all of my athletes online do. It's not some crappy PDF like they were when Topher and I came up, and still some teams, more teams than I'd like to say, are still sending out today. That's why 30,000+ athletes and hockey players have worked with me online since COVID, and they've allowed me to do that. So massive thank you. If you're a team, organization, or an individual player looking for in-season or off-season training, if you're a mom or dad looking to get in shape, you can also join my own personal workouts. I think right now today I've got 240 people from around the world that work out doing my personal workouts every single day with me, just trying to use that as a cost-effective, cheap way to help more athletes and people be healthy and perform better. So massive thank you to Train Heroic for making that possible. If you're interested in training with me online, hit me up.
Hit him up. We also want to thank Helios Hockey, one of the best ice hockey development products out there. It is a sensor that you put into your shoulder pads that gives you real-time feedback on your play, especially when it comes to what the kids love in a hustle score, and also unbelievable in the development of your skating. And so this thing, when you go, it lights up, and it also pairs with whatever video that you're using. So whether it's Live Barn, whether it is a camera or an iPhone or an iPad, when you go, it goes, and you get your shifts or your reps cut up for you directly when you're done with whatever practice or game that you're doing. And so just an unbelievable development tool, particularly on the skating side. And we all know skating is one of the biggest parts of the game today, but also that ability to cut up stuff and use your video for development as well. So go to helioshockey.com today and use the coupon code ThinkTank, one word, and you will get a discount of 20% off your pro annual or your pro 24-month plan, or you can go to helioshockey.com/teams and get this for your entire team. We also want to thank Crossbar. Crossbar is the best, unbelievably easy to use way to streamline the operations of your youth hockey organization. Unbelievably easy to use website and back end, the ability to go in and do your scheduling, whether it's for your entire season or little things like drop-ins or lessons, a 5-star communication app, helping with the management of volunteers or your facility or your finances. Like, guys, this is a one-stop shop to help you run your youth hockey organization. And I know a lot of people that have made the move from the big box type stuff over to Crossbar, and they have been extremely happy that they did. So go to crossbar.org today and check that out. And lastly, thank you to all of our amazing listeners. We love you guys so much. The one thing, if you can, for us that we would absolutely love to help us spread the gospel, the positive gospel on youth hockey, is if you can interact with us and our podcast on your podcast app, whether that is Apple Podcasts, whether that's iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. We are everywhere. And by shooting us a rating, review, downloading us, liking us, following us, commenting, whatever it may be, that just goes a long way into that algorithm that gets us into more people's ears when they're searching for a hockey podcast. So we love you guys. We continue to grind this baby out. We are bringing on one of our favorite guests and one of your favorite guests, the one and the only. Without further ado, we have Timmy Scott, our Uncle Tim. We are so excited to have on this episode of the podcast somebody that has been requested maybe even more than NHL players that we've had on the podcast. Based on our conversation that we had with him maybe 5 or so years ago, but we're bringing back Uncle Timmy, Tim Scott, coach of the Chicago Jets here in Chicago. How are we doing today, Uncle Timmy?
Doing well, man. Little Ryder Cup, a little or early season hockey. Let's go, baby.
Woo! All right, let's do it. So, just so the listeners know, Uncle Tim is the younger brother of my dad and Jeffrey's mom. And so we're all actually blood related here and all equally passionate about this fine game of hockey that we all love so much. And excited to have a conversation here today. We sent the bat signal out on social media. Hey guys, we're looking to debate somebody who thinks differently than Vex and I do as it relates to some of the youngins and the full ice versus half ice versus cross ice debate. Uncle Timmy willingly put his hand up and he's ready to enter the Lion's Den here with Jeffrey J. Hulavecchio and I. But Timmy, before we get started, just to introduce you to our listeners, just wanted you give our listeners a little bit of your coaching background. If you wanted to, go back. Episode 81 was the episode that Uncle Tim was on years and years ago. And now we have you back here about 5 years later. So just reintroduce yourself, a little bit of your coaching background.
Okay, so first of all, I know that the emails that you got were all like hate emails that came in. So I'm all good with that. Bring it. I got no problem going down that road. All right. So the next thing is I've been coaching for 30 years, basically in the Mite to Bantam, a little bit of high school, a little bit of AAA, all the way through that time period. Had a couple of years off in between doing some things to like make money and whatever, but I'm fully back and have been for about 14 years with the Chicago Jets, who I love. It's a great organization. We work really hard to do the right thing for the kids. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay. I like it. Well, we're going to bring everybody into the Scott family kind of dining room here at Thanksgiving and Christmas. And, we always, it's so funny. We have for the listeners, we have like a big family group text chain. It's called Babies, Foods, and Positives.
Yeah.
And then because it had to get splintered off because nobody liked all the, the banter back and forth and the arguments. So now then it became a separate arguments. And right. I think it's been rebranded to Problem Solvers.
Problem Solvers. So. Actually, no, all of those chains still exist. Plus there are a couple other ones for siblings and so on and so forth. It's insane trying to keep up with each one of them.
Gotcha. Well, I am only astute to the Babies, Foods, and Positives and the Problem Solvers ones. So, but I know I'm excited to talk some hockey with you here today, Timmy. And the first thing that I wanted to talk about, though, before we kind of dive into the kind of debate that everybody's all waiting for about kind of like full ice versus, shorter ice hockey at the youngest levels. But there is one thing that the three of us really agree on. And that is passing and how important passing is in the game of hockey.
I think you guys just came to that in like episode 260. What episode are you on now?
There's like 380 something.
You guys were all 380. Wow, nice. You guys were security. I think, and I'm not picking on you guys. I mean, I think the whole world went skill development. And now, as of late, maybe the last few years, people are more into the passing thing. And that's kind of where I've been the whole time.
Yeah, no, we were.
I don't know what you mean by we're just getting to this. We've talked about this like our entire.
We were opponents to the throwing crap toys on the ice and stick handling with your heads down and not making plays and not making passes and everything being individualized too much, too far. So now the team game has suffered. And what we've seen and have talked about the whole time is that passing has really suffered because of this individual skill that has been so present since McDavid came up because of Power Edge Pro and things like that.
Well, not just passing, but hockey sense, vision. Yeah. I think you just said, Timmy, right?
Sense. Yeah. I mean, like that's my bread and butter, dude. That's what I do all the time, no matter the age level.
Yeah. So I think, just to kind of start thing, I think it's really important that like that one thing that we agree on is the thing that I think we need to continue to shout from the rooftops.
Agreed.
Team play, like passing, get open, puck support, ability to read pressure so you can go support your teammate in the right areas. I was actually speaking to a group last week And I was telling them, it was like a group of kids that are like 15, 16 years old. And I was like, hey, who's a defenseman in here? And they had a bunch of kids raise their hand. I was like, okay, if you're going back, if there's a puck that gets dumped in and there's a retrieval, who do you think the scout's watching more? The one that's going to get the puck or the one that's going to support the puck? And they were like, the one that goes to get the puck. I was like, nope. How smart are you?
They might be looking at him for shoulder checks to see if they know what they're doing and trying to figure it out beforehand. But they're going to be looking for the second guy and if he knows what he's doing.
100%. I mean, obviously you're looking at both, but like at the end of the day, a lot of times mistakes are made on those retrievals because of lack of support from a partner. And it looks bad on the player that turns the puck over. But if they have no options, oh my God, it's a lot harder to make a play when you have no options.
I feel like I have a Caleb Williams analogy that goes along with that. Never mind.
Yeah?
Moving on. We'll stick with hockey.
Caleb Williams, four touchdowns last game.
Yeah, but the other 2 weeks he was like turned into the antichrist of football because maybe everybody wasn't totally on the same page, right? So,
and by antichrist of football, you mean just a regular
any Chicago quarterback? Yeah, any Chicago quarterback. Oh, look at that cute kid.
Hi, Sophie Taylor Lavecchio. A little STL action.
Haven't seen her all day.
All right.
I haven't seen my kids in 5 days. So at some point I should warn the listeners and you guys, if my kids get home from school here, there will be 3 little ones like making a ruckus coming in for sure. Okay. So let's get into the meat of this here. And that is our differing opinions on how to develop mites. And again, we're not all totally dissimilar on the way that we think about things. But I think the one thing that we do differ on is full ice versus small ice and how to get the most out of players, how to develop players to the best of their abilities as we get them ready for the next level. And so, again, I should caveat this, and I always do, right? Like, we're not going to like the extremes here, guys. You know, like there's a way to meet in the middle in every single type of debate and argument. And like Jeff and I are not saying, you know, never full ice, like, you know, you're an absolute moron if you think that that's good, blah, 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 blah. And Timmy feels the same probably about us and what we think about developing in small sided games. So like,
which part, the moron part or the full ice part?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
that was an uncle joke. That was an uncle joke. All right. Thought it was Thanksgiving. You told me it was Thanksgiving. Let's go.
Let's rip.
All right. So I guess I'll put the ball in your court first here, Timmy. Just big picture. Why do you agree that kids at 7 and 8 years old should be playing full ice hockey as opposed to cross ice or half ice?
Well, because I'm a passing guy, because that's what I totally believe in. I want to see at the Mite level a little bit of structure that involves all the kids on the ice touching the puck, right? So when we were talking, I think Jeff was saying earlier, we're talking about how, you know, you guys hated to see kids with their head down with the puck on their stick, skating around cones and all that kind of stuff. That kind of what Mite hockey was like pretty much, I don't know, we'll call it like 10, 15 years ago. Okay, here in Chicago, it was 1 or 2 kids grabbing the puck, rolling down the ice. Yay, we go to the championship on the back of the 2 kids, and the rest of the parents on the team are like, yeah, well, I mean, it's great, we won, but my kid wasn't really involved. So to me, having a bigger ice surface really comes down to simple things, right? Number one thing an athlete has to have is confidence. If they don't have any confidence, they're not going to be a good athlete. Number 2, if you're going to go to passing, giving them a bigger ice surface gives them a lot more time and space to make decisions. And some people would say, well, we want them to make decisions faster. That's why the cross ice thing is better. Hooey. In my book, that's a bunch of hooey. Okay. Reality is, if you put in a little structure and you give them the time and space to execute, you're going to give them the confidence to do it. And then on top of that, you're not creating Johnny the Monster who is never going to pass the puck, which is what I feel from my own experience in doing the early days of the cross ice stuff of the ADM program was absolutely 100% driving. 100%. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids who were dominating the games, taking everything. The rest of the kids were just floating on the outside because they weren't aggressive or anything like that. You put them on a big sheet and you tell all of those kids, you have to get everybody involved. You have to follow this map. You have to follow this, structure, right? Well, now they don't have a choice. When they come back to the bench, you're able to, as a coach, say, hey, why didn't you make that pass to Stevie, little Johnny? And he's like, oh, well, I wanted to go score a goal. Yeah, well, that's not what we do here, Stevie. Or Johnny, you're going to have to pass to Stevie. You don't have a choice, right? And now you're pushing the passing and making it happen. And now you're setting them up for success down the road. Because I personally believe that you can't be a decent hockey player if you're not a passer, period. If you can't see the ice, you don't have the vision, you can't make the plays. And I will do anything to forward that direction over the other direction where, yeah, you might get a quick turnover. Then that kid takes 4 steps and shoots the puck because he's so close to the net that it's just an easy take. And all the kids want to score goals. I mean, I get it. All the kids want to score goals, and that's good. Happy for them, right? But the reality is scoring goals is not the game. The game is played in the other 200 feet, knock it down to like 40 to 60 feet if you want, in a zone or in a neutral zone or whatever, right? But those are the areas where the bulk of the game is played, not the, I guess I should tell you this. I say to my kids when I'm talking to them about stick length, right? Got these kids with giant twigs. They're up to their eyebrows, for crying out loud. They can't handle the puck. They can't do it. And I fight this battle quite often with everybody, right? And the reality is, you've got a stick. They're like, well, I want to have a hard shot. Well, you've got a stick that's designed for 4 seconds of the game because it'll take you at most 1 second each time to take a shot. Well, what are you doing with that stick for the other 59 minutes and 56 seconds? That's the wrong stick to do the stick handling, the accurate passing, the accurate shooting, right? And all that kind of stuff. So now you've got a tool that's built for one purpose when there are a bunch of other purposes, stick battles, everything, right? Being able to move it quickly to each side of a defender as they turn, blah, blah, blah. So I look at the full ice versus small ice in the same way, right? Like, I think that the 3-on-3, the 4-on-4, all that stuff is great for practice. As a matter of fact, I use it consistently in my practices all year long. I don't think that games should be different than what a practice looks like. I think they should be different.
Why? What's your rationale to that?
Okay, well, do you think a kid gets up more for games or practices?
Games. What does that have anything to do with it?
Yeah, but that's the point, right? If he's playing small ice games that feel just like the practices that he's going through, some of those kids that are on the periphery that are not the most aggressive, that are not the most into it, it doesn't feel anything different to them other than it's just another practice. Whereas they get on the big ice, they know they're going to be involved because coach is going to make sure.
So you think the kids on the periphery, I'm asking this honestly. You think the kids on the periphery are less involved in a small area game than they are on the big ice?
It depends on the coach. Depends on the coach. If the coach is a guy who forces passing and you're playing a small ice game, they will be just as much on the periphery as they are in the middle of the play on small ice or on big ice. But if you have a coach who forces the entire team to pass, like let's just say everybody touches.
Yeah, but the coach doesn't. That doesn't matter. It's going to be the same for a small game or a big ice game.
No,
like
it's
the coach
not.
is obviously going to be having an effect on that.
You cannot possibly make the same number of passes in a small ice situation that are accurate tape to tape with time and space for the next player to be able to catch the puck, get their eyes up, see the next opportunity and pass it and build confidence. Because
did you not see the stats that I sent over to you?
Oh, you mean the USA Hockey stats?
Yes.
That were studied by Charles University.
Are there other stats from somewhere else disputing that claim?
No, but there's other stats from Sweden and Finland that I have that
Finland. So I mean, like the issue I have with the Sweden and Finland thing is that we're already doing it better here in America than they are over there. We're already doing it, and
You think we're doing it better than they are over there?
I absolutely do.
Per capita hockey players.
Why do we have to use that?
Well, you just brought in like
what's your metric?
You said we're doing it better. We're going to go back to what metric are you using?
Hold on. We can go to that in a second. I'm interested in hearing your explanation, and I'm sorry.
They have less people.
I should have let you. No, I'm not Sweden. I want to go back to the passing and the players not being engaged, in.
Yeah, I think that when you have a bigger ice surface and you give the kids more time and they can make a play, more time and space, and they can make a play at the youngest of age levels, right? Doing is you're giving them confidence to be able to play with the team, which is the direction I personally think that every team should be going in. There shouldn't be a little Johnny who gets to grab the puck and run down the ice anytime he wants with it.
But that is what happens in full ice. 99% of youth games is one player skates the length of the ice and no one else touches the puck. And the stats from USA Hockey show cross ice compared to full ice, players get 2 times more change of direction, 2 times more puck touches, 2 times more passes attempted, 5 times more passes received, and 6 times more shots attempted. And which just makes sense because it's a smaller playing surface. Just like in soccer, kids don't play on the same size surface or with the same size ball.
Or baseball or basketball.
Or basketball.
Or any other sport.
Because it's been regulated by the same outfit as USA Hockey in that particular sport. No. They don't tell you that part of it. US Soccer did not do that until around 2009. Some of these other places, basketball and whatever,
sense.
because
research was done and studies happened and they showed that it develops players better.
It makes sense to what level?
Kids, little kids who are tiny and have little legs.
All of this should be based more on ability than it should be based on age. Age specific is a wonderful thing to say, but when you're talking about what the ability level is, we got some Mite kids here in Chicago that can wheel up and down the ice, move the puck all over the place, and play a good brand of hockey. And if they're capable of being able to do that, then why aren't we letting them do that?
Because it doesn't develop them to the best of their abilities.
According to who?
According to the research and according to
from
people.
Sweden and Finland and Oregon. Wait a minute. I have that written down actually here after reading that stuff that you sent to me. The studies were done in Seattle and Oregon, and there was one in Missouri. We play the top teams in Missouri, so I'm pretty sure they're not the ones that are doing that stuff.
So you think the data's crap is what you're telling us?
I think
the data that we sent over that Sweden and Finland have done and the data that the USA Hockey and Hockey Canada they've all done is all crap.
Let me preference this. At one point in that very same article near the bottom, there is a phrase that is said by Voldemort, who shall remain nameless. But it goes through this long explanation about how all this stuff is great and good and whatever. And at the very bottom, it goes, and it shows because our enrollment has increased by X amount.
Which is extremely important for the sport.
Yeah, it is extremely important for the sport.
Extremely important for the sport.
So
but the sport has grown all by itself, given the television coverage, given the more access to the sport that people have, because they have more access. There's more rinks here in Illinois. Oh my God, there was like 19 when I was a kid. There's like 65 now or more, right? And so you're talking about a regular evolution of the sport, not necessarily, oh, it's because we decided to play cross-ice hockey. That's the whole reason why the sport got bigger. Well, it is not. It is not the reason.
Let me ask you this. Is it more
expensive? Because I lived through this whole period, by the way, boys. I was a part of the early ADM program. We had to do it at the Jets. I was one of the Mite coaches during that time. And I can tell you, I saw firsthand as much as you know me to be a passing coach, and both of you know I'm not exactly a quiet individual. So when I'm on the bench, I'm screaming, pass, 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 pass.
So wait, you talked about in the beginning about hockey sense, and then you've said multiple times since structure for 6 to 8 year olds and making hold on, and making kids pass. And now you're saying you're the coach on the bench. Hold on. When we're on a podcast, only one person can talk at a time. When we're on a podcast, only one person can talk at a time, or else the listeners can't hear us.
I interrupted him before, so he can get one.
So you talked about you wanted to help with hockey sense, and you talk about passing, and then you talked about structure, which structure for 8 year olds and creating hockey sense. I don't know if those two things jive that well in the sense that you're talking about. And now you're saying you're the coach on the bench yelling instructions out to the players. If you're yelling at your players what to do, is that helping their hockey sense, or is that like just you're trying to be a coach with the remote control? It's what we used to call our college coach. He thought he was playing Xbox, telling us all what to do on the ice.
So this is the robot argument that you're going to throw at me, right?
Well, I'm saying you're talking about developing hockey sense, and Bigger Ice does that. But then you're saying I'm the coach who's yelling on the bench, telling the players what to do. Those two things, they butt heads with each other.
Well, are we not supposed to be teachers? Do teachers walk into the classroom and throw the book on the floor and just say, test on Saturday or on Friday? Good luck, fellas. Let's go.
Do teachers stand over your shoulder, and when you go to mark the bubble C, they go, no, it's B. No, they don't. They mess up the test. Then they go back. They have a study session and say, okay, why was this B? Now let's look at that. Let's talk about it. So they don't tell you the answer while you're taking the test, which is what you yelling to a little kid on the ice what to do is.
Just because I'm saying pass.
Yeah, I know that's not how you coach. I know that's not what you do on the bench.
Freddie, pass to Billy. Billy, pass to Eddie. Eddie, pass to Stevie. You think I do that?
Hey, we're not leaving Johnny out of this. All right? We talk about little Johnny.
Johnny's already a lost cause. He doesn't pass. All right. So,
because the ice is too big for him to pass on.
No, Jeff. Actually, the hard part is the test doesn't come first, and then you go to a study group and figure it out. You go through a week full of
practice
where the teacher is telling you and working with you to get it right.
Which is
so. Yes, when the test comes, which is game day. Luckily in hockey, we are allowed to help to a certain extent, but it's only minimal. It's not like you're able to put every single thought in the kid's head. A lot of times they're not even going to hear you because they're at the other end of the ice.
But I thought they're hearing you because you're telling them to pass it.
That was on the cross ice games, bud. That was on cross ice. Because I wasn't seeing any passing coming from my teams. And so I was like, okay, well, this is not going to work for me because that's not what I want to see. So every time a kid touched the puck, pass, eyes up, pass. I still do that.
So you can honestly say, out of all, not you coaching, just like watching these very, very young kids who some of them can barely stand up. You can be honest with the show and say, when I watch a full ice Mite game versus a half ice Mite game, I see way more puck touches and way more passing, and not just one player just taking the mail all the way down the ice nonstop the whole game.
If it's a good coach, yes. If it's a coach who doesn't care and he wants to get the victories for himself, that's a totally different deal. The same thing would happen in cross ice, guys. Same thing would happen in cross ice.
The thing with the cross ice is because the ice surface isn't so big, the one player or two players that can skate can't just do it all themselves because everyone is in a much smaller area, much smaller, and the same strides per going down the full ice versus kids going half ice are almost identical. So the whole skating thing, people talking about skating
according to your survey, what team?
According to anyone who has eyes who watches kids skate.
Okay. So what team was it? What kind of team was it that they did the study on?
Was it a lower level 6U teams?
It was a bunch of teams? Was there a bunch? Because they don't.
We're talking about what's good for 8U and 6U as a whole.
Yeah, well, they don't list the kind of team that provided those stats. So how do we know it wasn't? Was it a very lower level team with that kid that you were talking about who could barely stand, or was it like a top Mite team that had already been coached for a number of years by the same guy, And they decided to pick that team to go in playing against another team just like it at the top level to produce those stats. We still come back to the same thing, that a study can take any form anybody wants it to.
But you don't think there's an eye test here when you watch most Mite games, not the top level, not the bottom. We're talking about what's good for hockey in general, because we have governing bodies and we have to make rules and decide what's best for coaches. We're looking at the median 6, 7, 8-year-old. Okay. You think that they take the same amount of strides, or they take less strides, full ice, half ice, passing is the same? You think those things, like, it makes more sense for them to be on the full ice for the median 6, 7, and 8-year-olds?
Once again, from the aspect of learning the game, being able to have time, to have vision, being able to execute passes and build confidence in that area, which is the area that I'm most concerned with, I think that full ice is a better place for them to learn that. I think that small ice is far too congested. Okay, so look at it. Let me put it to you this way, right? Let's see, 6U, 8U in school, they start with calculus, critical thinking, right?
No, they don't. The building blocks.
Exactly. And that's my point, right? Is so, like, if you want to foster a team mentality out of every single player on your team, you will put them in a situation where they can be confident as a team and be able to make plays as a team to build that confidence even further going on. That's why structure is important. I mean, like, you've heard the analogy, right? You got to walk, or you got to crawl before you walk and walk before you run, right? And that's common sense, right? But that's not what it is, actually. Because especially at Jeff, I'm going to go with you, with your daughter, Sophie. She's 1.
Yeah, right? Getting there.
So she's getting there on the walk-in. Okay, so these steps should be readily, and Toph, you've had, obviously, you got like a busload over there. You should be able to follow along with this. So when they learn to crawl, how many steps were there in between actual crawling and beginning to crawl? Well, first they got to be able to lift their head. Then they got to be able to move their body a little bit. Then they got to get stronger. Then they got to get confident in being able to move. And then people got to coax them into being able to move, and so on and so forth. And there are 15 things that lead up to them fully crawling. And then there's another 15, I don't know what the steps are, but there are another 15 steps for them to just like stand up. And then there are another 15 steps for them to actually walk. And then there are another 15 steps for them to actually run. So what I'm saying is, if you're going to build the mentality of a player, I want to start at the youngest ages with them worried more about passing and less about running around like crazy. Okay? Yeah, goals are nice. That's all fantastic. And I love for the kids to get the goals. But if you don't give them the time and space to be able to read something, how do they build vision? You think that, I guess I struggle with the fact that some people think that, having them make more decisions at 6U and 8U early, right away, make more decisions is going to make them a better hockey player. I don't believe that to be true, because I saw it with my own eyes. And I'm not talking about 1 or 2 teams, guys. I had 6 years of coaching 2 teams apiece, 2 Mite teams, Mite 1 and Mite 3 at the Jets. I had a couple of years of coaching in the ADM, breakout early on. And then I had a few Mite teams back at Glenview as well. Okay, so I'm talking like 15 years of having at least 1 Mite team, if not 2 Mite teams per year during my coaching career, during my 30 years. Okay, so I'm not talking from some place of I don't know, or I need a study to tell me, or I'm going to pretend common sense is common sense. It's not. The reality is, it depends on the coach, quite frankly, and what the coach, if a coach is more inclined to, hey, I want to go out in the lobby and get all the okie dokies from the parents because I'm awesome because we won, or do I want to actually teach these kids what's going to benefit them going down the road? If you're building a house, you start with the foundation. I would want my foundation to start with kids who pass the puck, kids who get their heads up immediately, kids who are assessing before they even get the puck, and a little bit of structure just like you would start in school or literally in anything else you learned in life, a little bit of structure to get them going for those first couple of years. And then if you want to add on some of this stuff afterwards or whatever, more faster decision making, all that other kind of stuff, great. But how about we get them confident in being a team player first? Then we can go on to all that other stuff. And full ice helps them do that, in my opinion.
So I think our hearts are in the right place and our brains are not. I think that's the crux of what's going on right now, because I think Vex and I would wholeheartedly agree in everything you just said in regards to we want to develop team, first type players, building blocks, all those kinds of things. So the why is very, we're very synchronous, similar, whatever you want to call it. The how I think is,
because I'm not sure I can spell it.
I can't spell it either. It's okay. The how I think is where we really differ, and there's a lot to unpack of all of the things that you just talked about, and I'm not sure where to start.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
The secret is out. With millions of younger-looking customers across the country, Plexiderm is one of the most highly sought-after products on the market. It visibly shrinks under eye bags and smooths out crow's feet in minutes, and the effects last up to 10 hours. Influencers love it, magazines feature it, and people just can't get enough of it. As a matter of fact, Elle Magazine gave it an Editor's Choice Award as Best Instant Wrinkle Filler for 2025. In as little as 10 minutes, Plexiderm reduces the appearance of fine lines, wrinkles, and those dreaded under-eye bags. So yes, you can look years younger in minutes, and the effects last for hours. No surgery, no gimmicks, just results. The best news, you can try Plexiderm for only $14.95. Plus, get free shipping. Don't wait. Order Plexiderm today. Visit plexiderm.com/special. That's plexiderm.com/special. Paid for by Sheer Science.
There's a lot to unpack. First of all, wholeheartedly disagree on the practice to game ratio thing. Like, you're like, the games should look different than the practices. Wholeheartedly disagree. That we should be putting kids in situations in.
I'm not sure that's what I said. I'm not sure that's what I meant, if that's what I said.
Okay, then explain yourself, because the way that I heard it, is the game should look different than the practices.
Well, I said should be different than the practice.
Okay,
I didn't say look
I don't
different.
Understand why. I don't agree. I don't understand why.
Okay, why, no, I'm with you.
Well, okay, so I think they should. Like, I don't explain why you think they should be different.
No, they should feel different to a kid. It should be a more of an emotional experience.
So why don't you practice on full ice then?
Cost.
No, but this is a development argument right now. If you had the ability, to practice,
I would definitely want to practice full ice if I had the ability the time.
So we very much disagree on all of that.
That's okay.
So,
okay.
So you're
years of coaching Mites. I'm not sure that either of you have you had any Mite?
I coach Mites
full season.
Not a full season. No, I've been on the ice with Mites plenty of times and have these types of conversations.
I've done 15 Mite seasons.
That's fine.
A big difference than just doing like a camp or a skate. Or
we're not telling you're a bad coach or anything. We just disagree fundamentally with.
You couldn't.
No, I've never seen you like. So yeah, I'm not going to tell you you're a bad coach, but we can have a conversation.
No, I don't. But I'm just busting your balls.
I know. So your practice to game, it should be different, is about the feeling of it. It's not about like it should look different.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to do the same things in practice as they do in the games. Absolutely, you're going to do it in a condensed area, mostly because of cost. That's why we got to do it. But if we could do it where we could do full ice in both, the feeling for a kid. I mean, I remember as a kid, and trust me, my memory is not that good anymore. But my memory as a kid was I was so excited for game day. So excited. And we had full ice practices. We had full ice practices when I was a kid. Okay. And I was so excited for game day, especially early on in the season. Right. And then it kind of got a humdrum, through the middle part of the season. And then finally when, playoffs or whatever were coming up or a big tournament or whatever, the excitement level kicked up again and this and that. I like the idea of half ice practices up to a certain ability level, not age level, ability level. But I think, game day should be an exciting time for a kid. And if the difference for that kid is now I get to do this on the full ice, you know what I mean? Like they get really excited about that stuff.
So here I will. So one of the things that I think people talk about as it relates to full ice is better than cross ice is it looks like hockey, right? Like it's on the full ice, the nets are where they are, blah, 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 blah. It looks like hockey. And it's really interesting because I had a conversation with a buddy of mine the other day who is a hockey director in Indianapolis, and they actually have a 2/3 sheet, and all the Mites play on the 2/3 sheet. They don't play on full ice. That's like where they play their games. And it's obviously smaller. And he's like, nobody has a problem with it. Everybody thinks it's fine. It's because it looks like hockey. There's a ref and there's 3 lines and there's circles and nets are where they're supposed to be and all that. So
do they have like a high end Mite team or do they have?
I think all of their Mites, as many of their Mites as they can, play on that sheet. So I think all different abilities and all different levels do that. So anyways, okay. So more to, some of the debate that we're talking about here. You talk about building blocks, right? You talk about we want to crawl, walk, run type stuff. So I'm in agreement with you there that there's a progression. I just am not in agreement with you that happens on a full ice. Again, like you look at all of these, okay, you don't agree with the studies, which is fine. Like I'll send you the Sweden, Finland one, and there's the USA Hockey one, which I sent you over. And it's not, for the listener here, particularly the one that was done in Finland and Sweden, like it's it wasn't 5-on-5. So they did a ton of different types of zones and they did a ton of different amounts of players on the ice at a time. So it was like a 1/6 of a zone, a 1/4 of a zone, 6 of the ice. What's that?
It lists 5-on-5 at the very bottom.
I'm talking about the Sweden and Finland one now. Okay. So the Sweden and Finland one, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5 in a lot of different parts of the ice, right? And that study in that, and it was all different. It was like U8 all the way up through U12, because in Sweden in particular, they don't start playing full ice until kids are 13. 12 until they're 12. So imagine trying to tell people to do that here. You can't play full ice until 12.
I don't think we're Sweden. So you have a cultural difference between the two places.
But here are the things. When it comes to all the things of the study that you saw, as far as puck touches, change of direction, battle, passes attempted, passes received, all that stuff, when you look at the Sweden-Finland study that was done, the most inefficient model as it comes to the building blocks of the skills that we're talking about was full ice young kids. It was the most efficient. And they didn't get any, I shouldn't say any, they didn't get as much of those skill building blocks as 3-on-3 cross ice, 4-on-4 half ice, and all of those kinds of things. So that's just a fact from that study. That was a longitudinal study, actually. And this is a cool thing, is like Sweden and Finland actually worked together on these studies, which was pretty cool. God forbid people work together, and people working together makes people better. Weird how that happens. But I don't believe that full ice gives those kids. I understand the time and space argument that you're saying, which is why you don't play 5-on-5 half ice or 5-on-5 cross ice. Should be 3-on-3 at the youngest ages, 4-on-4. And so
just the eye test though. I'm training guys, and outside of my window, I have a window in the gym, and I'm watching the cross ice games every time that I'm in there, and they're playing those games on the weekends for, the last 5 years. I've had my original, and then I reffed Mite hockey for, I don't know, probably 7 to 8 years. There was no passing. There was 1 or 2 kids on each team that would take the puck up the ice. And this is, this is hundreds of games that I reffed over the 7-8 years that I reffed. And now watching all these games out here where I see way more passing, I see way more shooting, I see all the kids involved versus, the 3 kids on the ice who are just looking around and they're not even anywhere part of the game. And pretty much every single person that I talk to about this thing, they see the same thing. I will 100% say, if you extrapolate out the highest age kids and they're all way better hockey players, okay, if they're all going to play on a full ice sheet, it could definitely look a lot different than the majority. But we are talking about, if we're going to talk about rules for all of USA hockey and things like that, not the top 0.5% of 7-year-olds.
Okay, well, why do we all have to follow the same rules?
Well, we're just talking about what's the best developmental path for most kids, because we're talking on a show that's talking to tons of people from all over the place, trying to talk about what's best.
So let's say this, right? There's the old adage, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And why don't how do we bear that out across all of the country and how they're doing things? Right? Well, there's no way to there. So, and this is the part that I struggle with mightily at this point. I hear the word development all the time, and nobody actually defines what development is. And that bothers me.
I can right now.
Okay, go ahead.
Skating, stick handling, shooting, head up, balance, edge work. Like
you just said,
USA Hockey and all of these people extrapolate out. Okay, at Mites, we want you to be able to do this. At Squirts, you should be able to do this. So all of that's pretty cut and dry laid out of the skills you should be able to do and learn at each level.
Everything you said there was a skill. Nothing was in hockey sense. Nothing.
Well, I mean, you're not really teaching hockey sense to 6-year-olds, Timmy.
Jeff, must I throw it out there again? I had the Mite 1 and the Mite 3 team.
I will actually go with Timmy on this one.
For a long time. You can teach a kid pretty much anything on the ice. You can't get crazy. When you overload them with information, they go south on you real fast. Right. And if you have some kids who are more aggressive than others and you allow them to be, hell-bent on going to score a goal, then you're not teaching them how to play the game.
Right. But what is the main thing you're teaching? 6 to 7 and 8-year-olds. The main thing you're teaching is not hockey sense. It's how to. It is too. Can you skate?
No. How to play as a team. You have to understand, Jeff. They go through ADM before they get to Mite hockey. At Mite hockey, you're teaching them how to skate, right? And I can only say for my organization and the general area here in Chicago, they've already gone through either 3 or 2 years of skating. The majority. Let's put for our organization, the majority. Okay, have gone through skating and stick handling and passing and shooting and whatever. So by the time they get to a travel team, which is what we are. So that's where I'm speaking from. By the time they get to a travel team, even if they're the lowest level travel team, they can still scoot around pretty good. And then when you throw in the fact that we're not going to let little Johnny run up and down the ice with the puck by himself, and you teach them a basic structure, you should see how excited the kids are when they come off the ice just because they made a good pass to somebody. Just because they saw it, they followed.
And there's more passing in small-sided hockey. So I think that's right.
Way more.
So if they're making more passes, then they're going to be happier.
Mm-hmm. Is there a connection rate on those passes in that small area stuff? Is there a connection rate that's involved with that? Or are we talking just passes?
I thought it said 5 times more in the study. 5 times more passes received.
I know exactly what it says in the study, Jeff. I know exactly what it says in the study. But
2 times more passes attempted, 5 times more passes received. So 5 times more passes that were successful.
You guys can run down this path all you want, man. I don't believe in it. I don't think the study is accurate. I don't care where it comes from. And I'm going to tell you that only because I lived it. I had somewhere around 15 Mite teams at different levels throughout the entire time. So I'm not going to depend on a study from somewhere else far off land to tell me that this is right or this is wrong. I know what I saw here in America, straight out in front of my own eyes. So I'm.
So would you be willing to next time your team plays a cross ice game, have someone write down pass attempts and passes received in a cross ice, and then the next time you play full ice, the same team.
We don't do cross ice.
Never?
Okay.
All right. Well,
yep,
I'm sure I could find somebody to do that here.
We went a long time ago. Yeah, but you have to, Jeff, if you're going to go down that path, then I would ask just a couple of things. One, it has to be an intentional pass, and it has to be a pass made and a pass received.
Yeah.
Because there's a big difference between confidence in a small cross ice game, right? Where maybe the kid throws it in the direction of a teammate, but we're going to count that a pass. Maybe it's
would that build his confidence?
Maybe it's
you just said it.
Maybe what?
You just said you're talking about confidence. You just said a kid throws a pass, it gets to somebody. You said that when they complete a pass, that builds confidence.
Yes.
So if you're talking specifically about confidence, which you are right now, you just made the point that they're going to get more confidence from the small ice because of what you just said.
No, I did not. I said, is it a pass that connects?
Okay. And if it connects, they get confidence.
Yes, but the problem is that when these guys were doing that study, are they counting pass attempts or passes completed?
But that's inconsequential to what you just said. You said when a kid comes off the ice, you should see their. I'm going to repeat what you said. Tell me if it's incorrect. You said when a kid comes off the ice, you should see their face. They're lit up when they complete that pass. Then you said in small area games, even sometimes they throw the puck, but they make the pass. The pass is attempted and they receive the puck, which if they're doing that more, on your words, they're happy when they do that. They're doing that more. They're happier and they're building confidence, which is what you just said.
I think you might want to roll back the tape because I don't think that's what I said.
It's exactly what you said.
No, I don't think it is. Don't think
it's exactly what you just said.
Jeff,
Tim, here, let's shift.
Attempts that are completed.
Yes, passes received 5 times more in.
Passes received.
We're back to the study again. I was talking.
You just said passes received makes kids happy, builds confidence.
Jeff, I was talking about you having somebody write down the numbers for all of these things. And I said the 2 things that I need you to do is one is that it's passes completed because that's a pass, not one that might be just thrown in the direction of someone and it doesn't get there by any stretch. And then the other, because that's not a confidence builder, that's going to immediately say turnover to the kid, and it's like I didn't do that.
That's not what you said. You said he throws it, not.
All right, guys, let's move on here. Let's move on here.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet, and the not so secret with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
Okay, I want to ask you about other sports because hockey is literally the only sport that I know of outside of maybe like swimming. Maybe I don't know. They probably don't swim as long as it's probably the same. But I look at basketball, I look at soccer, I look at football, and every single other sport outside of hockey plays small-sided games. They shrink the field, they shrink the amount of players in soccer. And so do you think that that is wrong as well?
I think that you're wrong in your depiction that they all shrink the field as well. At the very introductory level, they shrink the field. If you are at the travel level, they do not necessarily. I'm sure some places do. Don't get me wrong, but here in Chicago, I see 7, 8, 9-year-olds playing full field soccer all over the place for the travel clubs. Football, when you go to any of the football areas and the kids at that age, the only thing they're not doing is kicking field goals. But the travel teams like the Buffalo Bills that Cody and Vinny and Anthony all played for, they didn't play. They were playing full field games. I went to them and I watched it. Right. So I think the argument is the ability versus the age. When we say age specific, I'm not sure that we're just making a general statement that isn't born in reality. Age specific, you could have a kid that's a monster at 7 years old and a kid who's a lamb at 7 years old and everything in between. So I think you have to do it more by ability. If you watch any of the top, probably, new in Chicago, 3 divisions, and you put those mites on the ice, you're going to see a pretty good game where the kids are pretty competent and can roll up. Jackson could roll up and down the ice and make passes and everything else and no problems, right? So, I think that the argument needs to change from age specific to ability specific. And then I think we could adjust things like field size, cross ice, whatever.
I can see that for sure.
I don't agree. I don't agree.
Jeff and I think you're wrong.
Well, I agree that stratifying by ability would help this scenario, but I don't think above that. I think everyone below 10 should be playing half ice. It just makes way more sense for a million reasons. And I think maybe first
half
and foremost
ice or
is
cross
cost. Cross ice, whatever. It doesn't even matter to me.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. When I saw it, it was a very difficult thing to coach, and therefore the kids had more control over, let's say, the style of their play. And it wasn't about it. This comes back to let the game be the teacher and all that kind of stuff. Well, what's the point of having a coach if the game is going to be the teacher? What's the point of let's go into school? What's the point of having a classroom if the book is going to be the teacher?
That's very black and white of you, and I think there's a lot more gray to that. And we've already talked about how the coach is the most important thing out of anything.
I agree.
Over small side, far side, sport, unstructured. But I would. There is an argument to be made, and there's an argument to be made that there's less hockey sense today because there's too much coaching.
Because there's too much coaching.
Correct. Too much structure, too much coaching, and the game of itself. And can I talk?
Argument. I
will talk. So the game itself is a great teacher, just like a coach can be a great teacher. And I'll go, you obviously are at the younger levels, right? So you have an expertise, you have an opinion, and we respect that. We might not agree with it, but we respect that. And talk to anybody.
And let me add this real quick.
Tim.
Players love Uncle Tim.
I was just going to say that. Anybody who's played for my Uncle Tim, they love playing for my Uncle Tim.
Yeah, they do.
Okay. So here's what I will say is there's a notion out there that there's too much structure and too much coaching going on right now. And because of that, there's very few kids who actually are creative players anymore. And that is why I think the lack of unstructured play, the lack of pond hockey, the lack of hockey without coaching is a huge detriment to the development of the hockey sense and the development of the creativity in our kids today. Are you in agreement there? You're shaking your head. Yes. So
100%, but I don't think that's necessarily the coaching that's changed. I think that's the lifestyle that's changed. So you have so many more distractions these days.
Yeah, but two things could be true at the same time.
Wait. Let me just finish. Phone, iPad, computer, whatever it is. So I don't think that kids of today go out and get the unstructured play that we're talking about. So we agree on that. But I don't think that has anything to do with the coaches. I think the coaches are still doing the things that they've always done. I just think that the kids have less of that unstructured stuff that would combine with what the coach was doing so that they're getting a happy balance of unstructured creative play and learning the basic strategy of the game from the coaches, where I think that now you don't have any of that unstructured stuff. And so now they're putting it on the coaches like it's them that are doing the too much structure stuff. So that's where I see that whole ball game and how it's evolved coming along the way. I think that we're putting it on coaches, and then we're trying to take away what they do and what they do very well, because we're not seeing the other half of it that nobody's addressing. And I think that that's the issue. So do I think that there could be once a week for every team, for every organization that could afford it, where their kids, it is simply pond hockey day? You know, that would be the greatest thing ever. And that we could get more back towards. I used to go home, Toph, and, you know, Grandpa made ice in the backyard, right? And I'm going to get choked up here for a second, and I don't want to. You know, I would get up in the morning at like 7:30. I'd be on the ice from 7:30 to 8:30, go inside, eat breakfast, throw my clothes on, walk to school, come home from school, 3:30. I'm back on the ice until 6. Then I'm off on my way to practice. And we would do practice, and I would come home and jump on the ice until 10 o'clock with Dad throwing the lights on out in the backyard. Kids are not built that way. They don't, depending upon where they live, depending upon what other things they like to do in their life. We didn't have all the distractions that these kids have today. And so that allowed for more time for us to go and play around with our buddies or play around on the ice by ourselves, you know, during the winter time on the pond and all that kind of stuff. And so I don't think it's really fair to put it on the coach's back, because the coaches are just doing what the coaches have always done. The creativity and all that stuff that happened without the coaches was happening in the years prior elsewhere. And then those two married up. And we don't have any kind of marriage happening anymore, because it's just all, you know, a lot of it is all indoor ice with a coach and structured and everything else, because that's what coaches are supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's all that's available. That's all that's available to the kids. I'm not going to disagree with you there. Yeah, absolutely.
But is that what coaches are supposed to do? Or are they supposed to do and teach whatever they need to do to develop and become their best? And if you know that they're not getting that, wouldn't that be an environment that you would want to create? I mean, I remember going to some practices, like people ask me to come out to their kids' practices and stuff like that. And the first thing they're asking me is to teach the kids how to play a 2-on-2. And these are 8-year-olds. I'm like, what do you mean teach them how to play a 2-on-2? Well, Johnny can barely skate or shoot the puck. We don't need to teach him how to do a 2-on-2. Like, they should be having fun out here. Obviously, yeah, learning the fundamentals and things like that. But taking a 2-on-2 and teaching the defenseman how to do that is not high up on my priorities. I think winning has become so much like it must be about winning. And it's like, dude, we're talking about 7, 8, 6-year-olds. Yes, we want to teach them to win. But like, I had a coach when I put up that we were going to talk about this, reach out to me from Canada, coaching an 8U team in Canada, and they've lost their last 4 games, and the organization is pressuring him to win. Wild.
It happens. And I think that's crazy. I do think that that's crazy, but I guess if you go back, the point of playing a game is to win the game. And if we're just going to throw that out the window, then we end up.
No, not what I'm saying. Not what I'm saying.
I understand. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, in general, we need to be thinking that way because, again, I'm going to go back to the development argument, and we're talking about, all the kids need to see all the big minutes in the game, and all the kids need to get time on the power play, and all the kids need to get time on the penalty kill and all that kind of stuff. Well, you're taking away the incentive tools that a coach uses to motivate certain players. Certainly not all of them, obviously, right? But I mean, if we take away that stuff, then what is a coach supposed to do? Just come on, little Johnny, let's go. Do it the way I tell you to. No, if little Johnny wants something, little Johnny should have to learn to do the things the coach is asking him to do to get that moment. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, like, if I were to equate this to something, I could say, Jeff, you went to all the same classes as Toph, so why shouldn't you get a degree from Cornell?
Topher got better grades than me.
Well, I know that. Topher got better grades than everybody. But the point is like, if the world worked that way, where it was just about everybody getting everything, then why should a kid try harder in school to get the grades to get but
that's not what we're talking. We're not talking about any of that.
No, but it is the same thing. You're laying the same foundation.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
No, we're not at all. Not even a little bit. Yeah, we're talking about children who are paying money to play a sport. No, we're talking about children who are paying money. Their parents are paying money to play a sport. And this is at the lowest levels. Even if you're at the highest level of 8, you're 8. That's not a high level in the real world. That's not.
There's also a difference between everybody getting a trophy and giving everybody the same opportunity to develop.
Right. At 8, not 15, not 13. 8.
Well, I would even
7.
argue at that age too. Like
that's your generation.
Well, no, we are in agreement with you that nobody should be getting a trophy,
or given things.
Yeah, or given things. If you know us at all, you know that is.
So why would we give them the opportunity to be in the final minutes of a game if they're the kid that doesn't really show up for practice and put the effort in? What message are you sending to the kids?
There's a difference between effort. Okay, so this is probably where we're more aligned than what this conversation is saying, because if it's an effort thing or an attitude thing, then absolutely. If it's an ability thing at that age, absolutely they should be getting, yes, you should have every kid out there who wants to come to practice and works hard and is a good teammate should be out in the last, because they might be better than the kids in 2 years because they love the game and that other kid might not. And then we have not given that kid that opportunity to understand what it's like to develop in that kind of a situation. And by the way, then that kid who works really, really hard, if we're not putting them in that situation, there's probably a pretty good chance that that kid's going to fall out of love with the game. And
yeah, exactly. I agree with that 100%. I mean, like you have to walk a fine line, like and because we play, full ice and have regular seasons, when you're doing this with the younger kids, there's always a point at some time during the season where you could get a kid a couple of minutes in a difficult situation and see how they react and see how they feel about it, and then talk to them about them and coach them up about it and all that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, I don't think that the parents necessarily would take that in the same mind frame. They hear somebody saying that, what are we doing here? Everybody should, get these opportunities. We're developing. That's what we do. And there are some people who hear that and may take that out of context of the conversation And then, man, are they pushing that on coaches and hockey directors and everybody else. Like, I heard that this is the way that it's supposed to be. Yeah, no. Depends on whether you're a kid that's playing, like a park district level or travel level or brand new to hockey level or whatever. I mean, again, it's ability specific, not age specific.
See, I don't think you can delineate as much, especially if we're going back to our conversation, the full ice versus small-sided ice, stratifying by ability, because the better the player is at full ice, the more they're going to be rewarded for doing things that aren't hockey at the next levels. Would you agree with that?
Only if the coach allows it.
Okay, coaching aside. Right? Coaching aside, we've already discussed that the coach, we're not talking about the coach. We're talking about the size of the ice and the incentives for players to develop certain skills versus in a small sided ice versus a large ice.
You can't carve up the argument that way because it doesn't work that way. If you're playing inside, there will always be a coach there.
Can I ask you though, like, what's the difference between a good coach in a small ice and a bad coach in a small ice versus a good coach on a full ice and a bad coach on a full ice?
Probably no difference whatsoever.
Okay. So I don't know if I'm making my point here. Like, I think in this debate that we're having, like the coach,
good coach is worried about.
I would rather have my kid play for a good coach playing full ice than a crap coach playing small sided ice. The coach trumps everything in this scenario. I think we will all agree on that. Okay. But I don't understand how ability level, like I would argue the other way, that if a kid is extremely talented and faster than everybody else and can stick handle better than everybody else, and they are allowed to, again, coaching aside,
does he pass better than everybody else?
What's that?
Does he pass better than everybody else?
Sure. He passes better than everybody else. Yep. He does everything better than everybody else.
Yep.
That kid will be incentivized to do the wrong things that don't translate to the next levels in a full ice game than they would in a small ice game, because you have to pass the puck more in a small ice game because there's not as much space, because you have to read and react a lot more in a small sided game than you do in a full ice game. And those are the things that translate, that go up to the next level, and the next level, and the next level. That would be my argument.
And again, we're talking about the highest level of the youngest level, or any of those levels.
I would say any, but you specifically asked, like, and I'm saying if there is a kid who is that much better than everybody else, the incentives for that kid to do things that aren't going to translate to the next level, like skate around everybody else or skate in a straight line, which when I watch Mite hockey games, again, you're coaching your team. So I'm talking in generalities here. You're coaching your team, so it might be completely different. Okay. What I see when I watch Mite hockey is very different than what you see. When I watch Mite hockey games, all I see, like I went to one of Jackson's games at 8U last year, and there might have been 4 passes in an entire period, because all anybody ever tried to do was skate down the whole ice. And because there's so much more space, they're not incentivized to have to pass the puck because there's not as much puck battles. There's not as much friction, all of that, which you would get in a small sided game. So that's where I'm coming from.
Okay. So I'm going to I don't care if anybody knows it anymore. I've been doing it for so long. I don't think it matters anymore. They probably all know it at this point anyways. That's why I make all my teams play keep away for the first 5 minutes of the game. Every game. All season long.
And I think that's awesome. I think that's phenomenal.
My intent is to teach them how to play the game. And any quality coach is going to be interested in teaching them how to play the game. I believe that there has to be a balance between skill and sense. I don't think that you can go too far one way or the other.
Agreed.
I think that the world, and I think this goes possibly, Jeff, to part of the argument we were having before, I think the world went so far towards the skill-driven kind of stuff that the kids have now lost the ability to see the ice, because we spend 10 times more time with our head in a puck and a cone. Agreed. And I don't think that works at all. So when my kids are playing full ice, what I'm doing is I'm saying the first 5 minutes of every period, and if it doesn't look good, meaning we're not doing what we want to do, that time gets extended. And I simply explain to the parents and the kids that we do this. Actually, you'll find this kind of funny. I don't tell the parents at the first onset, right? I wait until that game is over because I love to see them freaking out up in the stands when the kid is standing right in front of the net and turns and skates toward the corner. It is absolutely hysterical. They're going, shoot, shoot, shoot. It's very funny. Anyway,
I love that because I think that incentivizes puck movement. It incentivizes working away from the puck. It incentivizes a lot of things that I do think translate to the next level. I think that's great.
And in a shorter version of that, it's team play. Timing with your teammates, all that kind of stuff. It's very unstructured, right? And then we go from that into a little bit more structure, So I explain it to the kids that 80% of the game, you need to be able to make the simple, wide open play. And 20% of the game, there's going to be some kind of change that jumps in your way, right? And you need to make what I call a hockey play. You got to make a real hockey decision, right? And those two things mixed together give you I think the balance that you're looking for both the unstructured and the structured, right? So I don't get upset at a kid. Like if I teach him like a standard breakout, right? And then I teach him a center breakout. Okay, great. Do I care if the kid comes up and he spots the wing on the far side and he's able to launch that thing all the way across, make that pass, and we continue on our way? No, I'm going to go to that kid and say, that was a great play. You saw the hole, you got him the puck. Great job. Right? It all comes down to the coaching. Every bit of this comes down. It doesn't matter as much, the ice size or anything else, right? I don't think that they're getting what they think they're getting, their stated objective in the cross ice games. I don't see that. I didn't see that when I coached it. I use cross ice in every practice that I have, whether it's 3-on-3, 4-on-4, whatever it is. I use it all the time. I think it's a beautiful tool because that allows you, as Jeff was saying earlier, or you were saying, I can't remember, that allows you to get a little bit of that unstructured play in there. And that's where the marriage comes in and it works out, but I don't think for game purposes, I would like to see the kids have a little bit more time and space to make the passes, because passing becomes more important every single year that they play the game. And I want them to be confident in that before I want them to be confident in, I can take the puck and dangle this guy, because you're just setting off their mentality in the right direction. That's my own personal feeling on it.
What does ice cost downtown Chicago right now per hour? Do you know?
Some places it's $4.50, some places it's $5.50 or $6. It just depends. I mean, it's it's the Wild West out there right now.
Yeah, I was somebody told me it was like $7.50.
Yeah, there could be places for sure. There could be places like that.
Yeah, like for me, that's one of the biggest things for me is like Toph and I are both really huge proponents in trying to have as many young players playing the game of hockey as long as we can. And for me, just that point alone for half ice for the younger players makes the most sense, because we can have 4 teams. We could even have 6 teams on the ice instead of 2. Every little kid game. And so I'm like, wow, we can have way more players and we can bring the cost down for every family because the ice costs less. They get more touches, all these things. So for me, that point alone, I think serves the game greater than any other point that we could make, me personally.
From a cost side, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
But from a cost side, I absolutely agree with you 100%.
Look at you two.
I just
look at us. Let's get married.
I just don't. I just don't. Personally think that from a teaching standpoint, that's the best way to go. I don't believe the studies. I don't believe that some of these things are being counted accurately. because of what I saw myself firsthand, right? And believe me, I'm paying attention to that stuff. Oh, that shot bounced off the goalie, but it went to the kid. Count that as a pass. I mean, like it depends on who you have doing the counting. Is it somebody who actually knows what they're doing, or did we hire somebody's dad in the stands to mark it off? You know what I mean? Like,
so basically what you're saying is you don't trust USA Hockey or Hockey Finland or Hockey
Buddy,
Sweden.
I don't trust anybody's studying anything anywhere anymore after the last 10 years. I just
Amen, Uncle Tim. Amen.
And I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. I mean, like, but really, I don't. I've had more of an awakening to the way the world works in the last 10 years than I think a lot of people have. And I think that a study can be put together to say anything you want it to say. And if you have an agenda that you want to push, you can match a study to it anytime you want to. And I'm not sure, you guys weren't here back in the days when all this started as the National Skill Development Program, and then went on to the Advanced Skill Development Program, and whatever it came down to, now it's, what it is. And, there were different iterations of it, and then they tried to force it upon everybody here and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of have this feeling that because there's only one person, one entity that has a microphone, that there is no argument on the other side. And if you're looking at the last 10 years, you see how that works out. So no, I don't necessarily believe in everything I read. I just don't anymore.
All right. Well, I trust in my eyes too when I watch full ice Mite games, and I think it's ridiculous. Granted, we just have different opinions. You're seeing things in your way, and it's probably a lot of the way that you've been coaching. And I see things very differently. I would say that most of the people I talk to think the way that we do, but that's not to say.
Topher, that's why you guys are such good guys about doing all this stuff, because this is the hockey think tank, not the hockey group think tank. And if you do not put dissenting voices on, then you can only be a group think tank.
Can I get an amen?
So I think I greatly appreciate you guys, having me on and let me express my opinions, because I think it's the only way. Nobody's ever going to be 100% right or 100% wrong, but we can meet, as you said earlier, somewhere in the middle and come close to something that could be really, really good. Yeah. But, taking a hard line on this position or that position, there are some things that I could see could be worked out the right way in cross ice. If you had the right coaches out there doing it the right way, I could see how it would be beneficial for the upper level kids. I don't think it's quite as beneficial for the lower level kids. And I think we could meet in the middle somewhere there along the line, but, and the upper level kids, could they do it either way? Yes, they could do it either way. And I think they'd be fine either way. So,
if the coaching was good,
opinion, if the coaching was good, if the coaching was truly focused on the development of a team first attitude at that young age level, and that was the jumping off point, I think we're going to be better if it's a team first thing. And that's the jumping off point that we want, instead of it's the skill driven shooter mentality that we kind of veered off into for about 10 or 15 years there. I think that's setting the expectation that they can just do their own thing, right? Instead of setting it off on, you're going to be a team member first, and you're going to pass and play with your teammates first. And then we'll get to when is the right time for you to be you and go make things happen and all that kind of stuff. Right.
That's where I think the unstructured play that we've lost is so incredibly important, because I do think you learn a lot of that team stuff in the unstructured play. Put the freaking sticks in the middle, learn how to play with different types of players.
Yeah, sure.
That's a huge
Austin Matthews. The Austin Matthews path.
What's that?
Have you ever heard the stories about how
he played like only small ice his whole growing up?
Not
No,
at
he
all.
did actually. He played on.
Yeah,
He played on a small studio rink all growing up. Austin Matthews.
Okay, so he
All growing up.
as he was growing up, he was playing in men's league games and high school. They would let him come on the ice with them, and then he
You're just talking about
and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So he was at the rink all day playing with all different types of people and learning stuff at an accelerated rate. So
yeah, having that wide array of different experiences to be able to do that, it goes
Jeff's
a long
lying
way.
about the small rink thing, isn't he? He's totally lying about that.
No. That's 100% true.
Send me that story, Jeff.
Sportsnet.ca, how Austin Matthews went from small ice to the big league. Yeah.
We'll send it to you.
Send it to me.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That's good for today. Started off on the same page, kind of went sideways there for a little bit, and then ended up being back on the same page. So the fact that we ended up back on the same page for the most part, I think again, like we're talking about full ice versus small ice. We might have some disagreements there, but I think fundamentally agreeing on what's really important in development, and that's team passing. That goes a long way. So Uncle Timmy, you didn't disappoint. You never do. We appreciate everything you're doing in the hockey world, man. And
I appreciate everything you guys are doing. You're doing a great job.
Yeah. And I will say too, I'm happy. Like you made the point, and I had this conversation with somebody the other day, because we've had other dissenting views on here, right? Remember Vex, we had my buddy who runs an online academy on, hey, we want to know about this versus the community model and things like that. We do not want to tell anybody what to do. We want to provide as much information as we can to you so you can make your own decision. And we certainly have our opinions that are based on our experiences and what we've learned and what we've seen and everything in between. But at the end of the day, that's our goal, is to educate, not to mandate, not to tell, but to talk and to ask and to provide perspective. And so hopefully we were able to do that with everybody here today. And Timmy, the last time we had you on 5 years ago, the most feedback we ever got from a podcast at that time.
Begin.
So let's see if that happens again, brother. So thank you. And appreciate all your time today.
Love you, boys.
Love you too.
Catch you later.
NFL fans, what's your favorite touchdown? For me, it's the next one, because with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, every touchdown could bring you closer to cashing in. From first touchdown score to anytime TD props or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. And here's the best part. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. If I had needed this product, it's what I'd use. Your team hitting pay dirt pays out to you. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Minimum minus 500 odds required. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.